Okay, so I've already been dinking with this thing a little bit this morning, getting the boring stuff out of the way. I got the tires aired up, got the front tires put back on. The Firestone, the one that's in rougher shape, is actually, near as I can tell, mounted tubeless, and it took air, so we'll see how long it holds. If nothing else, I got a 11L15 tube down in the barn that I can throw in it for now, but that tire's gonna need to be replaced. She's pretty rough. And I got the cab cleaned out, which doesn't necessarily help starting it directly, but they had the floor pan up to get to the hydraulic shit underneath it, and when they had it held up, and the coon stuffed a bunch of shit underneath it, so you couldn't get it back down, and I needed it down to push the clutch in against the firewall just in case the clutch safety switch still works. Judging by the rest of the tractor, I doubt it, but it's inside the cab, so you never know, it could. So I got the cab cleaned out. There was a lot of shit. The trash can was empty, and it's got that much shit in it. Fortunately, the original floor mat, it was still in there, but the coons had their way with it, and there wasn't much left, so I just cut it out to get it out of the way. And I think before they parked it, the rest of the whole cab kit must have been complete and in fairly decent shape, because I literally swept the entire cab kit off the floor of this thing. And it probably would have stayed decent, except for they left that window open this whole time so the critters could come and go as they please. And at some point I'm gonna have to pull the top of the cab off because it's full of straw. Apparently the squirrels or whatever could fit through the holes got in there and filled it full of shit, so we're gonna have to pull the top of the cab at some point, which isn't bad. It's just there's a row of bolts around the outside and it lifts right off. So with that being said, I think we're to the point where we can start actually going through the proceedings of trying to fire this baby up. So first things first, like I said yesterday, I'm gonna pull a hydraulic pump because we don't want to be running this thing just in case the pump is savable, which all it is, looks like I got one line left to unhook that they didn't do already, and then there's two bolts on the pump flange, one on either side, which with the cab is going to be a little fun to get to, but we should be able to make her happen. The pump's got to come off either way because it's either junk or we need to clean it up, one of the two. So I'm going to get the pump off, and we'll get these batteries out because they're obviously junk. They ain't going to do us any good. We'll go down and steal the batteries out of the 1955 for now, which, if this thing runs, eventually what I'll probably do, or what I should do, is take these batteries, turn them in for cores, get 2 new batteries, put the 2 new batteries in the 1955, and put the old batteries out of the 1955 in this, and just leave them in this. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. First, we got to make sure this thing's going to run. Fingers crossed it will. I wish we had a big strap wrench that I could get on the crank pulley to at least try to rock it, because they have a monster ass. Yeah, we might have a socket big enough to fit on that crank nut. Give me a minute. If I got a socket big enough to get on that crank nut, we're gonna see if I can rock this thing with a breaker bar. Well, I got bad news. I got on it with a breaker bar and a cheater pipe, and I can't budge that thing. That's not looking very good. Here. Because there's we got a couple possibilities here. A, the motor's locked up. B, the Bendix on the starter still engaged from when we tried to start it, and I'm fighting the starter, trying to climb the Bendix. Or C, the hydraulic pump is locked up from being open, and we're fighting that. So how to go from here? Well, I guess first things first, I'm going to yank the muffler off real quick, and we're going to peek down the turbo and see. Because it has had a rain cap, but it is not the greatest rain cap, so there is a possibility we got water in the engine. So I guess that's where I'm going to start before we go too far on this. Well, I'm afraid I don't have a whole lot of good news. Pulled the exhaust off, and I already swept some of it out, but the turbo elbow is full of shit. Looks like there's a mouse nest in there. Put a breaker bar and a cheater pipe on it, couldn't roll it over. So got the live shaft pulled out far enough to disengage it from the flywheel, because that will disconnect the hydraulic pump from the engine. Still wouldn't roll over. So pulled the starter off just to make sure that the Bendix wasn't still engaged, and we were trying to climb the Bendix. Still won't roll over. Now the crank will move just a little bit. The crank will jiggle. So that means that we probably got a piston stuck, or multiple pistons stuck. Yeah. So I guess I don't know what to do from here. I don't know if I pull the injectors and dump the engine full of some ATF and diesel fuel, let her sit. I don't know. So I even stuck a pry bar in there because you have more leverage on the flywheel. I couldn't move it with the flywheel neither. So, and naturally, because it's a 3-speed, you can't yank on it. So, yeah, the question becomes, what do you do from here? Fun. And actually, while I was messing with it, I had a guy stop in, one of our friends. He says he knows somebody that's got a 354 that they want to pull out of a combine and get rid of. So I have the option. I might already have another engine lined up for it. Or you got all the stuff here for it, do you put a Cummins in it? Yeah. So I don't know what to do from here, honestly. I'm kind of bummed. I didn't think it was stuck. I thought we got the crank to move further than that. Okay, so since it's already fucked, for lack of better terms, I decided might as well do a little exploratory surgery. So I decided I'm gonna go through and pop the injectors one by one. At least the first one wasn't stuck, it came right out. It's kind of dirty, but you would expect that. And I shined a light down in, and I could see the piston and everything in there was clean. So I'm just gonna go through one by one and pop the injectors and look down in there. And I'm probably gonna, I think I got some ATF. I'm gonna mix up a little ATF and diesel fuel and fill the cylinders up while I got them open. And I'm assuming at some point I'm gonna hit one that's full of water or full of rust or both. So, but we'll go down the line while I got it open. I want to do it one at a time because I don't want to get the whole engine opened up. And we'll fill them with ATF just while I got it open. If I find one that's completely screwed, then that'll be the end of it. But we'll have to see what happens here. Well, here we are about an hour and a half later, because the first two I got unhooked, them things came right out by hand. Thought, sweet, we're doing good. Number 5 had just a little teeny tiny bit of water in it, so I made a little deal where I billy rigged the vacuum so I could get down in there and suck the water out, and it was just like the little teeny tiny bit of water, and the cylinder looked clean. So I got ATF in 5 and 6. Went to hit number 4. Could not get that injector to budge. Could not. Got on it with a pry bar, got on it with a slide, or got on it with a slide hammer. Could not get it to budge. Finally got the hood off so I could get a straighter pull on it with a slide hammer. And I had to beat and beat and beat, and finally got to come out. And this is what I found. And I knew that wasn't a good sign. And then I peeked down in the cylinder. It's all full of white shit. And I'm guessing that if that's the case, I've never had a 354 part, but I would have to guess that they've probably used aluminum pistons, which means the piston in there gotten wet and that bad stuff's happening in there. So it's safe to say this motor's roached. There's no saving it. I would show, the hole's not big enough for you to see down in there, or I'd show you, but this motor's done. She's roached. About the only other thing I could do, but I'm not going to screw with it now, is actually pull the head and look and see how bad it is. But if I can get another motor for 800 bucks, 800, 1,000 bucks to drop in it, because I think I said it already, I had another guy stop in and said he knows where there's a motor out of a combine that the guy wants to get rid of, or you put a Cummins in it. Perkins would be easy because it's just pull one out, slap one in. For the most part, you got to swap some parts over from the tractor motor to the combine motor, because I think the manifolds were a little different, and some other odds and ends. But this one's done for. She ain't gonna chooch. So I guess I'm gonna go make a spot to park this thing, because it's gonna be on the back burner. It wasn't gonna be on the front burner anyway. The 1950T's gotta go to the front of the line first, but that's disappointing. Because the crank will rock just a little bit, and I was thinking, yeah, maybe it's just lightly stuck. And so I guess I'm gonna get this all put back together, and we'll go make a spot to park it. forklift moves it, but it doesn't like it. That thing's heavier than I thought it'd be. But this is going to be its temporary resting spot for the time being until I figure out exactly what we're going to do with it. I buttoned everything up the best I could. I figured there was no sense in putting that rusted out, rotted out muffler back on it because it wasn't doing shit. So I took the rain cap and clamped it right down in the turbo manifold. That ought to be better protection being down under the hood than it was. So not that there's anything worth protecting, but you might as well keep it from deteriorating any further because at least it's spare parts. So, but I'm probably going to explore 3 different options. I'm probably going to call Maybach tomorrow and see what it's going to cost for the parts to overhaul that Perkins, and see what it would cost to put a Cummins in it, and what it would entail to put a Cummins in it, because I'm sure it's been done before, but Cummins repowers and whites are not nearly as prevalent as they are in the 55 series, so I do not know what all it would entail to drop a Cummins in this. But you got the Perkins tub. I think that's a DOT3 or DOT4 bell housing that you need for the Cummins. I know you need the Perkins bell, or the Perkins bell housing that bolts on the 3-speed. So I'm pretty sure the vast majority of all the big shit minus the motor that you need to do a Cummins swap are already here. You just need a Cummins. So I'm gonna look at that, and then there's a possibility I already have a combine motor lined up for it, so we'll just have to see what's gonna happen. But like I say, the 1950T, that's #1 priority this winter, because we know what's wrong with that. We know what we're getting into, and it's been on the waiting list for a year. And I really want to get that thing going again, so that's #1 priority. This will be, we're going to do research on this, figure out what we got to do. It's not going to wait that long because I want to get it going, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not probably going to take a whole lot to get this thing going as far as overall expenditure. Although if I got the motor out, I'm rebuilding the 3-speed while I got it out, just because we're there. It's got 4,700 hours on it, so it really shouldn't need rebuilt, but and then since everybody keeps asking about the 2255, it's getting, I don't know, I don't want to say annoying because I don't want to sound like an asshole, but it's getting kind of annoying that everybody keeps asking about the 2255. If you want a timeline on the 2255, 10 to 15 years. That's my realistic timeline for that tractor. I need a shop to work on it in, and all the money to do it, because I bet I have between $25,000 and $30,000 to put that tractor back the way I want it, because I'm only going to tear that tractor apart one time. I'm not going to put a motor in it and then run it and then tear it back apart and fix the 3-speed and then run it and then tear it back apart and paint. I'm going to do the motor, the 3-speed, going to go through the rear end, going to go through the final drives, going to go through the cab. It's getting painted, getting all new rubber. That tractor is getting tore apart one time. So I need a spot to work on it, because I bet that is going to be somewhere between a 12 to 18 month project, depending on how bad it is. So yeah, you can lay off the 2255. She's so far out, it's not even on the radar. It's here, it's safe, it ain't going nowhere, but it ain't getting worked on for a while. We got bigger fish to fry. But like I say, that I'll bet, yeah, I can get, because I mean, it's got good rubber on it already. There's nothing, I mean, it's a 105. There should be nothing wrong in the rear end, although I did see, I'm trying to pull the PTO back off, because at some point somebody been working, or somebody must have had the PTO out to overhaul it, and they rolled the seal on the stub shaft in here, so it's going to leak like a sieve, and then for some reason it's not hooked up. They left it, they plugged that off, and they plugged that line off, so the PTO is probably going to have some attention. But other than that, I mean, I'm going to put a cab kit in it, and I doubt I'll do much with paint or anything on it for the time being, because these aren't nearly as hard to work on, and they're not nearly as massive as a 2255. So depending on which route I go, I bet somewhere between $3,500 to $5,000 we'll have this thing back in the field. We'll have to see how it plays out, but like I say, it sucks that I couldn't get it going. I'm a little disappointed in that. I thought for sure it wasn't stuck because, like I say, when I went over and looked at it, we took Tyler's jump pack, we got it to roll over a little bit. I figured we were just fighting them dead ass batteries and probably some shorts and whatnot, but no, she's stuck. But the kicker is, my buddy Cody bought that 190 XT, gave 200 bucks for it. We're thinking there's no freaking way this tractor ain't stuck. No way in hell. Sitting there in a pile of cow manure, open crankcase, open exhaust, turbos full of shit. There's no way this tractor's stuck. He had it running on ether today. He got over there, or he was messing with it this morning, put a crescent wrench on the crank. He said just about the weight of the crescent wrench just about rolled the motor over. He shot it up full of ether, got it running. He said he had it running on ether long enough, it primed the hydraulic system. He said it was steering. It's like, you son of a bitch. And then the one that had the cover up exhaust and most of the sheet metal on it is locked up. But that's the difference between sitting under a roof and sitting outside. So anyway, I guess it's getting cold out, so I'm gonna go home and finish putting stuff up and probably call her a day. So that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.